And we're live. Hey, everyone. Todd Schroth here, Justin Nelson with Sphere Rocket. I just want to thank you guys for tuning into our Facebook page, Agents Who Win. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And this is also live on YouTube. So be sure to check out the YouTube channel and subscribe and like so you'll get the weekly updates if you're not on the Facebook group. So, Justin, thanks again for coming on here. And, we've been connected for quite a few months. We, connected through one of our other Facebook groups that we're in the company we're with. And you had posted a bunch of stuff, and it kind of got us like, some Facebook things and marketing. And then we were going to do an event together, or actually a couple events. Mm-hmm. And COVID came and said, no, thanks.
Yeah.
So that canceled. And, we've been chatting, obviously, for the last 6 months. And, you've got the Sphere Rocket VA program. And the virtual assistants is something that I've always been intrigued with, how it works, how to get them, find the right one. Do they speak good English? Where are they at? The time zones and all that. And, we've been very impressed. We've obviously been working with Jessica, our VA, for about a month now. And extremely happy with the way it all came about. So I wanted to ask how you got started, running the VA company, as being as young as you are, with as much competition out there that's in this business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So obviously, for those that don't know, my background is real estate first and foremost. I'm known for growing a big real estate team out of Denver, Colorado with my dad. We started that in 2012. So I guess he started in 2012. I kind of jumped on board as the do all things guy. At 2013, I was 16 years old. Ended up getting licensed at 19 in 2000. I don't even know. I'm getting old, man. I don't know.
Sorry, I said as young as you are. I mean, as old as you are.
Yeah, so I'm 23 now. So I've been licensed a little over 4.5 years. I spent the first few years building the real estate team with my dad. I was fortunate that he gave me the full reins of everything. Build the systems, build the lead gen. Like, I trust you, go do it. And he was, doing what he did best, which was selling. And so over time, ended up getting licensed, grew that team. And that led me on a crazy path. I was at KW that entire time, loved my time there, and I got to travel. So during my last year at KW, I traveled the nation. Spent about I think that was kind of where we got connected, is coming to the teaching circuit. I spent about 300 days on the road traveling the nation and just teaching real estate agents how to use social media. Now, obviously, one of the key things about real estate agents, and I'm guilty of the same thing, is we like for other people to do things for us, if at all possible. Because, at the end of the day, I always call us unicorns. When we look at a true map of what real estate agents do, it is quite astounding, right? When we look at what does a dentist do or an attorney, they really don't. They have a very fine scope of work, and they have assistants, and they have all this leverage that's just built in. And so real estate agents, when I was on the road, they'd go, Justin, can you just give us a person that does all the things you teach? And so that's kind of what led us into the virtual assistant world. Is I've been using VAs for quite a long time in different forms and fashions, from, Upwork and Craigslist and all these different places, and had success with it. Had other times that I had gotten scammed with it because I didn't know what I was doing. And so ultimately it was just a demand. I always tell people I never thought I was going to start a VA company, but it was purely the demand of what we were teaching. And then once we figured out how to be able to give somebody a full-time VA that we took through training or took and did such a vetting process on, that we could give them someone that could execute everything they wanted, that's where Sphere Rocket VA was founded out of.
So, you're running everything off the VA systems now. You've got a VA manager to running the VAs that you have working for yourself, pretty much running your entire back end of your life. Yeah. And, so how do you, if I'm, for myself, I was always against it because I wanted to be able to see the person next to me. I wanted to know what they're doing. Are they showing up, etc. And, I think when you came out when we started talking, your system's a lot different than what I've seen with these other companies that have been around for a long time, because there's one, we know what they're being paid, so we know where the quality of work we're getting, versus they're $6-7 an hour. That means they're only getting $2 or $3 an hour over there because the companies here are taking a good chunk of it.
Yep.
So that was a big plus, I think. And I literally sat down when we talked about your fees and stuff, and I'm like, wait, so in about 3 months I'll have back what I would have paid in in the long term. So it's going to be a much better scenario.
Yeah.
How do you find the quality of the VA that's there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for me, like what we always found is we found that the virtual assistant model is no different than the in-person United States model. It comes down to one thing. It comes down to recruiting. How many people can you possibly go through applications for? How many people can you have come in and apply for the job? And the more that you have apply for the job, the more people you can put on a first interview. The more people you can put on a first interview, the more people that you can kick off the first interview. Like for us, it's kind of a backward screening. I don't really care about trying to push everybody through the first interview. I want to have 2,000 applications a month come into our company so that we can send 98% of them away, right? And keep the top 2%. And that's where a lot of agents will fail when they try to go get a VA on their own. Is they're gonna get frustrated. They're gonna go on Craigslist, or there's even like, I'm gonna teach you guys how to do this. You can go on Craigslist, or there's this really cool website called onlinejobs.ph, and they're job boards, and you can, as United States citizen, go on and try to recruit your own VA and avoid all companies, right? The problem is what you don't realize is most of those VAs that are on those job boards, they're usually working for 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 different clients at a given time in juggling schedules. So that way they can make 400 from Todd, 400 from Justin, 400 from Sally, and not tell you they're working for 7 different people. And so, for us, what we're able to do is we take the same process, but we put such a heavy load of applications through, we're able to go through that. And I have the entire recruitment staff. And so, I always tell people the quality of our company isn't really any different from if you tried to go do it in terms of the people we're getting through. We just get so many more people through that the quality just increases from that. Ben Kinney, a KW guy, used to always say to go find the Navy SEALs, you have to hire the Navy. And so and so it's kind of the same. To find the elite of the VAs, I have to know 1,000 of them to find the elite. If I just go out and meet 10, I might find elite. I might find 2 elite, but they're only elite in a group of 10. I want to go find the elite out of a group of 1,000 and then be able to turn those VAs over to you. And so one thing I'll always say is a lot of the virtual assistant companies out there, there's nothing wrong with their model, right? It's just a different model than how we do it, right? We're a very hands-on model. We limit how many people we help per month. Like that's a big thing for me. I will probably never do more than 20 real estate agents in a month. And the reason why I won't do more than 20 is I want to be able to control our flow. I want to control the quality we're outputting, and I want to control that one-on-one attention that I'm giving to our clients.
Well, when we signed up, we did a 4-week coaching series with you with the VA on there. You strategically kept her off the first few minutes. Is there anything that you need help with on this? And then we'll bring her on. And if you we're hiring you because of you. We're not hiring you because of the management you have behind you. And that was nice to have that one-on-one. I think it's the bigger companies. Now I'm gonna find somebody. I'm gonna train them. Hopefully they're gonna do it just as good as I am and be like that.
Yeah.
When we were doing our interviews with you, we ended up going through a series of 2, and it's funny because once you start talking to one, you really like her, but she's not him or her, but she's not they're not the position that you were looking for.
Yeah.
But then you're like, man, maybe we should hire her for a different position because it is so cheap.
Yeah.
And for what they can do for us. And then we got the second round. Jessica, who we hired, had no VA experience, but it's been an awesome experience with us. And we asked if this other person was still available. Like, no, she got hired. So it's like the good candidates, they get snatched up. And if you find one, you got to get it. If you don't have a position for them, or if you don't need for that position, put them in another position. Because my God, we would have loved to have had the girl that was there because she was like lead tracking and more ISA type stuff, not making calls, but keeping a team coordinated. And I think we need that in our team. Yeah. And we have an ideal for that. So that's our next call to you is when we get things going a little bit more. That's our next one we want to hire. Hopefully she can come back and get her. But and it's like some of the resumes matched, some of them were kind of half and half, but you've narrowed down out of 1,000 people.
Exactly. Well, and that's what our model is all about. It's about providing a barrier of entry that is less than other companies. And the reason why I do that is VAs are so life-changing that when you find the right one, you go, wow, why didn't I do this 20 years ago? Why didn't I do this 10 years ago? And it's all because a lot of the ways that the current companies are set up, which you kind of alluded to earlier, they have high thresholds, they have high friction points. They have a 12-month contract. They have we're going to pay the VA $3 an hour, but we're going to charge you $8, right? And so there's a lot of these different things that agents don't ever get into that world because they're scared of all those friction points, right? Or, hey, the VA technically works for that company, so in a year, we can actually force you to pay more for that person, and you have no control of your team member. You're basically almost, for a lack of better terms, you are subcontracting out a person from someone else, and you are at the mercy of that company. And so the way we were set up is where we don't have monthly upcharges, where we got rid of all that. So it's like, now we can provide more people that would never have signed a 6 to 12-month contract. I will tell you right now, our top members, they will tell you, Justin, we would have never have gotten a VA if the model wasn't the way your model was, because we would have never assigned a 6-month contract with a company. It could have been the best company in the world with a 100% proven track record. Some agents just won't sign contracts for 6-12 months. And so we built our company around that to be able to provide an entry level, for anybody at really at any production.
Well, and you got to think about too, if I need someone for a certain project and it's 3 months, I may not need a VA again, but I think once you learn the value of one, then you're going, you only need that person for 3 months. You're going to find someone else. You're going to want to do something else there. Because I would love to have 2 or 3 more people working at the rate that we're paying and getting us just a boom organized and ready, and with these projects we have going on.
Yep.
My theory back in the day when I was hiring my first assistant back in 2010 was, okay, so I'm going to pay them $8 an hour, but I can get somebody local for 11 or 12. Why not just pay a couple of dollars and I'm sitting at the desk next to me?
Yeah.
Now, to hire a good assistant, you're $35,000, $45,000 a year, and then I can have them get someone to help them for $4, $5, $6 an hour and do a lot of the other work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're able to scale. You're able to get 3 or 4 VAs for the same price of just one American employee.
I was looking at your top 50 things that a VA can do, and it's not just real estate. You've got stuff for more than just real estate in there, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people will make fun of me for a lot of the things that my VAs do for me. So the VAs order my groceries for me. So once a week, I'll take a picture of my fridge. Everything has its own place. I'll take a picture of my fridge and page my VA. She knows where things go. She'll go in there and go, oh, he's missing mayo, he's missing ketchup, or whatever it is. They know what to order. And it sounds crazy, but if I had to go to the store, I love food. On the way to the store, I'd probably stop by Subway and I'd eat. And then I would probably, I'd probably go to the grocery store and spend an hour and a half being a typical male, not able to find anything. And then I'd end up buying things I don't need. And then by the time I got back, I'd be like, that's a 2-hour trip. And then I'm like, I just wasted 2 hours. And so one of the big realizations for me was a coach sat me down and he said, Justin, what I want you to do is I want you to figure out what your dollar per hour is. And so, at the time I was making 6 figures. I was making 100,000 plus a year. And I found out for every $100,000 you make, your hourly rate is $54 an hour for every 100,000 you make. And
okay.
So as I approached 200,000, 300,000, my hourly rate started to get to $150, $200 an hour. And I said, it is actually costing me money to go to the grocery store. I would tell my coworkers, it cost me $200 to go to the grocery store before I even swipe a card. And they didn't understand. And it's because my hourly times, I could spend time taking a picture and then come do calls like this and give back value to the world and keep growing my company and growing other people's companies because I didn't have to do things like that. So yeah, they do all of my personal finances. They pay all of my mortgages for me. They have complete control of the finances, but it's all still protected, so they can't transfer. We have protections in place. They do all of my supply ordering. So like just 30 minutes ago, I was on a call with Paige. She said, Justin, like just crazy. Do you need toilet paper? Do you need towels? Do you need like anything? Do you need batteries? Like we have a conversation every Friday, and I'm like, yeah, I need blah, blah, blah. And she'll go on there and order hand soap for me off of Amazon. Sounds crazy, but I found a way to leverage everything in my life so that way it's not just me, if that makes sense.
Well, and that's, for me as an agent, not just a VA, but it was, the value of an assistant or a support staff. Hiring the first one allowed me to go out and sell more real estate. And if I look at it, if I can hire someone, for 30 grand a year or whatever it is, that's like 5 deals that I can do, and I can have that much more time tied up that I'm not sitting there, doing paperwork, and I could be out connecting clients. That's 5 more clients, and if you just get one referral from that client, that's another $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in commission you can make. Another vacation you can get paid for, anything along that line.
Absolutely.
And then when we scaled and we ended up hiring 2, it's like, cool. Now I don't have to think about the marketing or the transactions because that's all handled. We sit down and we brainstorm. Now it's like, okay, cool. Now we've got, Jessica down there. She's able to help Rachel. Rachel can work on bigger projects that we have going on, and Jessica can work on the stuff that Rachel's working on.
Yep.
And you figure out where the value of that person is that you need. And and anybody that's selling real estate that needs an assistant, this is like, just try it because it makes a huge difference having just an assistant or a virtual assistant.
Yeah. For sure.
So how did the VAs learn all the programs? Because when I was looking at the documents, they pretty much had everything down. Not every VA is going to know every system, but they'll know our MLSs, they'll know our YLOPO or our Facebook, our all the marketing that we have going on. They've been trained in it somewhere somehow. How do they understand all that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, there's really 2 phases. So we obviously provide like a standardized training, no different than any other VA company out there. One of the biggest differences that we make is because I'm taking you through those coaching calls, I'm getting firsthand knowledge of what you need, right? So above and beyond just the baseline, that if we find you a VA and they're like, Justin, we don't know YLOPO, but you need YLOPO, but they had all the other check boxes. I go, cool. Guess who has a great YLOPO training library? Not me, because I'm not YLOPO, but YLOPO does, right? So we organize those companies and we take their instructional videos and we house them in a very organized way. And we make sure someone on our staff understands how to work the systems to where we can then train them, right? A lot of companies, the biggest fallacy we see is they tell you, we train your VA and they're going to know everything. That's false, because if you guys know there's so many CRM, there's so many ways to do things. If anybody ever tells you that your VA is going to come pre-trained on everything, they're full of it. And that's why we have such a high success rate, is because I'm on those coaching calls. We can really kind of go a million different directions. And I go, oh, you need this? Cool. Let's get your VA trained on that. Even if they have no clue what it is, we'll make sure that they get trained on that. And so, while part of it's the recruiting process, when we can put as many applications in the door, we can find people that have massive experience in what you need, and then we can fill in the gaps from there with our training staff.
And it's with her, she's been great with, if I've got something I need her to learn on or to educate herself on, she's got access to my Facebook. She goes in, I get her in the groups that she needs to be. And she's funny because she's like, I felt weird because someone was messaging you and the message was popping up. I promise I didn't read it. I'm like, trust me, there's no like world secrets going on in my chat groups or whatever we have going on down there.
Yeah.
But it's she's taken our accounts and learned what needs to be done. And at a certain point, she can act as me on Facebook. And she's like, if you need me to go in referral groups, I can take care of that. I'll post, hey, anybody looking for Orlando agents, whatever. Yep. I'll be sure to monitor during that time.
Yeah, I mean, we just had an example last week. We have an agent out of New Mexico. She had her VA go and join all the referral groups across the United States, and the VA monitors the referral groups 3 to 4 times a day, and they have 5 signed referral agreements, and they've only had a VA for 75 days with us. And it's because the VA is able to monitor all day while you're out and about doing your things. And the average customer with us right now, they will spend $7,000 a year to pay a full-time VA. That's average. Full-time VA, $7,000 a year.
what did that one referral? She's got 5 referrals. You said so.
She's got 5 referrals. I know one is signed for at least 500,000.
Yeah, so that's like 2 VAs right there, and so the rest of it's just money in the bank.
It's just money in the bank, and it's an ROI. And for a lot of people, one of the biggest gaps we also help fill. So we kind of have this wide variety. We obviously have high producers that are using our VAs. But we also have people, we have a lot of families that, maybe like one spouse is the breadwinner and the other one's in real estate maybe. And, for a lot of people, if they're making $75,000, $80,000 a year, they go, Justin, with any other company, it wouldn't make sense for me to have an assistant. But with you, or with a different model, that person making $80,000 a year, they would much rather make 73 a year than make 80 if they can do almost none of their tasks. They didn't have to worry about their social media. They didn't have to worry about their financial books. Like just had someone last week, a mom, she's staying at home with 3 kids, does real estate. And she said, Justin, I want a VA not because I want to go from 80,000 a year to 160. I wanted to go from 80 to 73, which was just such a cool mindset because she's like, I'll be so much happier at 73 and 20 hours a week with my kids back rather than I would be here. But if you go with the typical company, she's like, I'd have to go from 80 to 60. And she wasn't willing to do that.
Yeah, they had, it's just the if I can get that much time, that's, I mean, what it was with me just hiring my first assistant, getting that time back. So I'm not home after 5 working on files. If I'm working after hours, it's because I'm doing buyer searches, planning or researching. It's not because I'm working on processing transactions. Mm-hmm. And I can't do it during the day because I need to be out showing houses. So that is a big value right there if you can get someone to do that.
Yeah.
How long? So if I'm coming into this brand new, not as an agent, but I'm a single agent doing 15 to 30 transactions a year, and I want to scale to, or I'm 15 to 20, and I want to scale to 30 to 35 a year and get the VA to help out. How long does it take to really get them up and running, and where I feel they're comfortable with everything? And how are the customers, like my customers, how do they perceive the VA as well? Because like our VA does not interact with our customers because they're just doing the social media stuff. But when you've got them doing the transaction management.
Yeah. So if on the transaction management side, what's really cool is 99% of the time, unless your VA puts in their signature line that they're from the Philippines, because of the amount of recruiting we do, they don't ever know. Right? Yeah. They don't know based on the English. They don't know, if someone tells you that there's a language barrier, then they are going through Craigslist.com and finding 5 candidates, right? There is absolutely no English barrier at all. And so most of the time they don't even know, right? Whether you're emailing anything, most people don't even realize that it's an out of the country thing. Most agents don't even think that it's a reality to have a VA, let alone customers thinking that the local agent is using someone from another country. Like it doesn't even really cross their mind a lot of times. And so to get them up and running, it's all about mindset, right? A lot of times people, when they pay a ton of money for an assistant, the reason why they fail is because they want to get that assistant from 0 to 100 real fast. They want them to be proficient and ready to go because they're experiencing what we call ROI rash. It is a rash that occurs because they're spending more money than they're ever used to. They want that VA to do everything immediately. And that's the recipe for disaster. But when you get your first assistant and they're costing you $400, $500, $600 a month, you don't feel this pressure to have them do everything, right? Like you could probably go sell a pair of your shoes or a shirt and probably pay, if you needed to the next month, your assistant salary, right? Right. It's not like it's a $3,000, $4,000 salary that you wouldn't be able to make up the difference. And so when you don't have that pressure, the way we look at it is I say, hey, if you want to take this slow and you don't want to mentally exhaust yourself, what if you just gave your VA 4 things a week for the next 3 months and they mastered it? Just even if it's small things, first week, 4 things, next week, 4 things. You look back over 3 months, they know how to do 48 things in your business that you were doing that they got off your plate. Now, during week 1, 2, and 3, it's going to feel like your VA is not working a lot of hours. Right. But because we don't have the upcharge on you per hour, you don't feel the pressure to make them work 40 hours to start. Like you're like, okay, cool. Monday, Tuesday, we got the 4 things done. They're good. They might do like some CRM work, things like that, but you don't feel the pressure as a business owner to get them up and running super fast. Now, don't get me wrong, you can get them fully operational in a week, but I think it's unrealistic that a lot of companies put this pressure on you that they need to do everything or they need to be slam busy in the first few weeks. It's just not the reality.
I had, with Jessica, she checks in at 8, she checks out at 5, she sends a list of what she needs to do. I'm excited every day. I don't see in there questions for the team leader. It's just she's working on, and Rachel pretty much manages everything that's happening there. But she's got like projects, like we're doing the Facebook scrape. That is a week or 4 week, project. So she's got the little things in there, and I'll say, hey, all right, we're doing some YouTube stuff. Go learn that. So it's like I think I would, in that first 40 hours or whatever of the first week, you're going to, the baby steps 1 through 4, and then if they're not busy, they can go educate on learn how to use your CRM and do those other things.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's what we call a fallback task, right?
Yep.
What are the tasks that you're going to do? Because if an agent thinks that they're going to be swamped and then just all of a sudden have 40 hours a week to train someone,
right?
Because not going to happen. Even if you're going to have 10 hours a week to train someone, it's pretty unrealistic because you're swamped.
Right.
And so now it's like, cool, how can I get my VA 5 hours a week of work the first week of new things, and then let them do a day, most of us have CRMs and databases and things like that could be worked on for 40 hours a week for the next 2 years and still not be done. And so like there's always work to be done. So it's kind of give them 5 hours of work, let them fill the rest of the time. Next week, let's give them another 5 hours and let them perfect it, and then fill the rest of the time. And when you do that, you're really able to, build momentum and steam.
Just trying to read I've got some other notes here I wanted to kind of run through, but what would you give over to a VA to handle on the transaction side? I mean, besides scheduling and things like that, it's, if I wanted to get someone that's like fully proficient contract to close, because I have somebody that is trying to grow, just had a kid, got a 5-year-old starting school. They're doing that 25 deals right now, really wants to do more, not bringing somebody in-house, and how long would it take her to say, okay, cool, I've got her, I've got them on set, so we're a couple months, and then, what I guess from contract to close, what is all the things that they can take care of?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously each state's a little bit different on what people can and can't do. We find a lot of problems with especially older thinking brokerages and, that are like, VAs, like that's not a thing, like that's illegal. Like every state's got different things that are allowed to be done and not be done. But, I would say really where we focus on is bringing someone in, at least from our company standpoint, with experience already. So transaction coordination is one of the hardest things to, like, if someone said, hey, Justin, can you take this unexperienced VA and then turn them into an experienced VA in the transaction world? It's just not our company's specialty, right? There's other companies out there that I refer to. But because we go through so many applications, we have VAs that are looking for a change of job scenery, and they've worked for 3 years as a transaction coordinator for a big team. We just placed one with a team out of Wisconsin. The transaction coordinator came from a massive KW team. Like if I said the KW team's name, everybody would know who this is. And they were their lead TC, and they just said, you know what, we want to take $100 a month pay cut because we needed a new environment after 7 years. Well, after 7 years, the person was fully proficient. And so that's where we focus our time, is on that side of things, to where you kind of already know what the VA knows or doesn't know about a transaction process. Obviously, about the most impossible thing is to ever negotiate. They can never take off really the legal negotiations for you. But as far as everything else, they're able to do a lot more above and beyond. Like, for example, post-closing, following up to get reviews or things like that. Like, I consider that a part of the transaction coordination process, right? Yep. A lot of people wouldn't, because their per file transaction coordinator wouldn't do that for them. But for us, like a comprehensive, like, all right, we got a new lead, they're under contract, let's go put it in the database, let's update the mailing list, let's update their birthdays. Like, those aren't things that your transaction coordinator per file is going to do for you. And so we see a lot more of like that front end and back end behind the deal, like right before the deal and right behind the deal. A lot of that actually we consider transaction work too, because it's a part of that transaction, opening, closing files, that your per file TC would never do. And so for a lot of people, what we'll do is when they already have like a really rock star TC company that they like, we'll have the VA come in and they'll do the before the transaction starts, like maybe like some listing prep, things like that. And we'll have them perfect the behind the transaction. And they'll leave the transaction company in there for an immediate term to not rock the ship too much of their company, to not like go totally crazy. And then over time, the VA will slowly start to learn the process that team likes to run. And then they'll slowly take over, and then eventually there will be a smooth, like, all right, cool, let's transition this over. Now, some jump in full 2 feet forward. They just want their VA to start from scratch. It's hard, it's not easy. You're going to find bumps in the road, but it's definitely doable.
Well, I mean, and then you think about the expense side of it too. If I'm paying $400 a transaction, if you don't have somebody on salary working, and you are doing the $250 to $500 per transaction file, I think let's just average it out at $400. If I'm closing 3 deals a month at $1,200 and I'm getting a VA at $600, that's giving me another $600 a month on my account. I can either reinvest, I can put into marketing, I can put into post-closing items for my clients, because like we're big into swag and giving things back to our clients, and so I've got more money to go do that stuff. I love the idea of the before and after, because like I'm bad at obviously we should be checking Facebook for all the birthdays and sending everyone messages and all that good stuff, and probably do that once a month. VA can take care of that. Hey Johnny, happy birthday. Hey Sally, happy birthday. And it's just simple. You don't need to get personal to hope the kids are doing well or anything. But if you get those into the follow-up system, and then she's following the tasks to do that stuff, they can go on and send out cards and send out a brownie to them for a birthday, whatever it is.
Yep. Exactly, and it's just on repeat. Here's the thing: everybody watching this, they know what they need to do in their business.
Yeah.
John Cheplack used to say something that he said the only difference or the only gap between where you are now and where you want to be, and he was talking about video with this, like he was trying to teach someone how to do more video. He said the only gap between you now and where you want to be is how much time you spend in front of the camera, right? And so it's kind of the same thing here. The only gap between where you want to be now and where you are now and where you want to be, the only gap is what to do. It's just now executing it, right? And so it's kind of the same thing with putting out more video content. Same thing. You know what to do, you just got to execute it. Now, if you know that you can't execute all of it, whether it be a lack of skill, a lack of motivation, a lack of desire, maybe just you're out of time, right? Well, then we got to put someone in that place, or else you're just going to stay right where you're at today.
Right.
So,
what's if I've got a team, like, do you have like a VA manager, and the VA manager kind of manages the VAs? How does all that work? Because I feel like you almost need somebody here on your team managing all of them, but you're set up to where we've got, I think it's Sharon, who's your VA manager, and then she's taking care of everybody.
Yeah, so Shireen, she is our head recruiter, but she also manages all my other team members. So it's kind of like a team lead. So she still has her 40-hour-a-week job that she needs to hit. She needs to do this and this and this. But for 10 hours of her week, it's managing the other people, right? It's doing the one-on-ones. And so basically everything that ever needs to be done in my life, businesses, whatever, it all goes through her. I have one source to talk to. Kind of a corporate world thing that we've learned through a lot of corporate training and things like that is we look at the corporate world, big corporate consultants will go into a company and say, hey, to CEOs, a lot of times the reasons why CEOs fail is they have too many people reporting to them. They'll have Sally from this department and this department, and they have 25 people reporting. And one of the first things that they'll do when they go in and consult with them is they'll go, hey, you need to talk to one person, and then that one person will direct the rest of the people. And so a lot of times with virtual assistants, our first VA will end up being the manager, because your first VA is learning everything from you, right? They're building the manuals for you. They're learning everything from scratch. They're building a lot of the systems with you. And so when a new VA comes in, what will happen is usually your first VA will give about 50 to 60% of their tasks to the new VA. Slowly but surely, they'll train them. They will stay accountable. When I bring a new VA on, I actually will never get mad at the new VA for not accomplishing something. I will only go to one person and go, they didn't accomplish it, so it's on you. Now that pressure and that accountability obviously comes at an increased pay for my manager now. So they obviously take a greater responsibility, and I don't really ever have a problem with it at all. Shireen, every time we get a new person, she makes more money and she has more, responsibility, but I don't have to worry about it. I just go to her and go, hey, why did this not happen or this? And she's like, I got it fixed. Like, don't even worry about it.
Do you have, like, if we were to go in and start as an individual agent, a process for us to get them trained? And if I see your systems, is that all part of the one-on-ones? So, like the VA is going to have, this is the 185 things that are done, contract to close. We're going to start you with this, then we're going to move you to this, because we're not, I'm not walking in and hiring 5 VAs, the manager, and 4 others doing other things. We're going to start with one, then work our way forward. So does that one, like, if they don't have the contract to close experience or they've got it, they were doing it in Wisconsin, but we have a different process here in Florida. Yeah. So we have like a Florida checklist for them, or how does that get set up?
Yeah, great question. So honestly, that's why the one-on-one coaching is no matter the company ever, if a company says, hey, we have a VA that's trained in your state and has all the contract lists, I don't know of a single VA company that's big enough that has a specific list for your MLS, for your market, for everything that could possibly go into your, the updated, if a VA company was big enough that they could manage all the changes of each local market,
yeah,
it would just be insane, but it would be a logistical nightmare. And so what we do during the one-on-one coaching is I help bring that out of you. I go, hey, you know the transaction process. You just need to not be lazy and spend an hour writing it down. And you can write it on a scratch-off ticket note. I don't really care. Just bring it to me, and I will help you put it into a systemized system, and we can go through it, and I will help you build it out with you. Now, when we pair that with a VA that already knows the transaction process, it's now just kind of altering, I'm not having to teach the VA, hey, this is what a closing is. This is what an inspection is, right? I'm going, oh, in this state, the inspection period is 7 days compared to 20 days. Or in this state, the inspection period actually just has a set date rather than a period of dates. And so when you have someone that's already got knowledge, now it's just you building a new system. And we really depend on the employer to help us. A lot of the VA companies, they'll sell you, oh, the VA will just build it all for you. Well, the VA's never been in your market. So it's impossible, but it's a great sales pitch. It's a great sales pitch. Honestly, I love that sales pitch because they go and fail at those companies. They come to us and coach directly with me, and they go, oh, you're actually going to help us build this? Like, another company would never do that.
Well, no, so I'm asking you a difference of Florida to Wisconsin, the difference of the transaction process. Or Chicago, where we're from, they had attorneys that did everything, and they typed the contracts, and they did all those things. We're here, we can type it. I'm not a licensed attorney, but I can type a contract, and up there they consider practicing law. So you go to Florida, you go Miami, they do different closing costs than they do in the Orlando market. So if I'm running 2 different teams here and there, I need to know, or the VA needs to know, hey, the market down there is different, the costs are different, the process is different. Going to beachside, we need to make sure we've got these other inspections involved. So it is literally very market specific what happens just the state.
Yeah, and that's where those one-on-one calls come in handy, because I'm like, I'm able to help, or I'm able to give connections. Well, especially a lot of new agents, they don't take advantage of other people that have already taken the track. So I had an example last week. I got a new agent, got a transaction coordinator, and they're like, what do I do next? And I said, well, who's the best agent in your market? And they're like, blah, blah, blah. And I said, cool. I said, do they have a transaction coordinator? And they said, yeah. And I'm like, how much do they pay? And they're like, $4,000 a month. I said, cool. Do you know that rock star agent? They're like, yeah, they're my best friend. And I'm like, well, do you think your best friend would lend you their full-time assistant for an hour a day for the next 2 weeks? She's like, oh yeah. I'm like, well, what if you paid her full-time assistant $20 an hour for the next 2 weeks to help you build the transaction system? She said, yeah, let's do it. She went out there. Instead, it only cost her 1 hour of time. That TC gave her all the checklists for the state and their brokerage. Right. Now, she in 20 minutes had the entire list. Now all she had to do was go and type it into the system that we taught her, and the VA had everything they needed. And it was just literally asking a question, which most people watching today probably are a part of a brokerage or a team or some type of organization where they know other people to get these things, right? I know today, Todd, if someone was at a different company than you in the state of Florida and they asked you for a transaction coordination list, 9 times out of 10, you probably give them one, right? Or a sample of one. And because that's just who you are and you give value. And that's the same thing when you're around people that give you value. You really shouldn't have to ever train your VA on anything. If you have to train your VA on too many things, that means you're not using resources, because there's an infinite amount of resources that you can go tap into, whether we provide those resources or someone else or a combination of both, tap into those.
Well, and I think you're going to, we want to learn a lot. I want to educate a lot. And I'm going to spend say 30 minutes watching this coaching session, I'm going to take away just a couple of things. I'm not going to take away the entire 30 minutes. So it's what I'm getting at is, they're going to know just exactly what they need to do, and they can go back to it. So that's why it's nice to have the list set and kind of be able to have something to work from.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of if this happens and that's going to happen, and that's the VA, if they're smart enough, will understand that. Because every real estate transaction is different. It is not all checklists. So it's now the communication through the process with the VA. You're obviously not. They're not sitting next to you. You're picking them. The phone calls. I mean, is that we're not having to call the Philippines? We're calling over a voice over line or something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's all kinds of systems. Google Voice, Call Hippo. I mean, really, don't overthink it. Anybody, literally, it's just apps that go on the cell phones of your VAs or on their computer. All you know is that they have a U.S. number. And that's really at the end of the day what it's all about. You're not like, is it going to work here or there? It's just a U.S. number. It will call their computer or call their cell phone. No different than here. So
every time we ask you a question, I swear we get some new information. And it's like, because last week it was, they're getting flagged on Facebook because it's showing that someone logged in my account in the Philippines. Now for $8 a month, we have some sort of mask that shows that they're in the United States or they're in Florida somewhere. So those are like the cool little tips and tricks that people have created, these inexpensive programs to help us, be able to work overseas with people and still make it look like they're here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, obviously one of my favorite tools is Screenshot Monitor. Screenshot Monitor is a life changer in the world of VAs. So that's another thing. A lot of companies won't give you access to that for their VAs, where we give you access to their Screenshot Monitor, which is really handy.
We used to, I mean, this is going back again 10 years ago. We tried to hire a VA to go do like Craigslist and some other stuff, and we would see the screenshots of them working, and we couldn't tell what was going on. And literally the VA, I think, lasted a couple of weeks, and we were just done. Like, let's do it ourselves. And it's stuff we didn't end up doing anyways. It was just we wanted to add a few things to our plate. So, want to wrap up. You've got a booklet you give. I want to post a link in the chat, not in the chat, but I'll post it in the thing, in the Facebook feed and the YouTube feed there. 50 things that a VA can do for you. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we wrote a 70-page PDF of the top 50 things that we see our employers that hire VAs have their VAs do. It's not just a list of 50 things. It is actually a step-by-step guide of how to actually execute all of those 50 things. So it's a great thing just to get your mind rolling. A lot of times we have this brain freeze of what could a VA do for me, and so we just put out a list of the top 50 things we saw to kind of get you thinking, because there's a lot of things you're like, oh, I do that, but it doesn't even really.
It's second nature. So it's when you're writing down like a budget, it's like, why did I spend $50 today? Oh, if I get a little notepad, I realize I spent a quarter on a piece of gum and then $1.99 on soda, and then wait, I did spend that much money today.
Exactly.
So it's good to kind of sit down and brainstorm and really think about all you do throughout the day and what they can help you with. Mm-hmm. So I want to thank you for spending some time with us today. We've been together for a while, and I'm excited we're connected. Anybody looking for the assistant side, definitely connect with Justin. And if you have questions on how we're working with them, happy to connect and answer. Next week we have Eric Tamayo coming on talking about 401ks for real estate. And potentially some investments on that as well. So, tune in next Friday at 3:00 as well. But Justin, I wanted to say thanks again. Taking the time this morning, obviously on our last coaching call for this, for our 4 weeks. And again, this afternoon, doing the show with us. So it's been awesome and new information all the time. So we'll pop the link in for the virtual assistant guide. If you guys get it, check it out. Call me with any questions or reach out to Justin for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if anybody reaches out to me, definitely let me know that you guys came through the Agents Who Win podcast /live today, because we do have discounts as well available for those that mention Agents Who Win. So definitely, awesome. Definitely let us know where you came from. So
okay, I appreciate that. That's a nice way to give back to the community.
So awesome, Todd. I appreciate you having me on.
Cool. Thanks, Justin. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon. Thanks.